Hello, everybody. I'm Heather Hayes. Welcome back to our breaking news coverage.
And I'm Casey Stiegel. Thank you for joining us across Fox Local and our other digital platforms as we continue to monitor this developing situation in Dallas County, a shooting at an ICE detention center.
So that shooter opened fire about 6:30 this morning, firing a rifle from the roof of a building near the Immigration and Customs Enforcement location. This is 35 at Empire Central in Dallas. The gunman fired rounds into an unmarked ICE vehicle that was transporting detainees.
2 ICE detainees were killed and a third was wounded. The numbers have been quite fluid as this has developed since this morning. The gunman, we can tell you, is dead. Officials say he took his own life, and sources have identified the shooter as 29-year-old Joshua Yance. The FBI says the suspect wrote anti-ICE messaging on bullets, and they are calling it a targeted attack.
But there are still a lot of questions. How long the attack was planned, what motivated that suspect, so much to answer. But here's what we can tell you. We do know that law enforcement has arrived at multiple homes connected, they say, possibly to that shooter.
Yep, we've got a location in North Texas, also one in Oklahoma. One is in Durant, Oklahoma. That's about 20 minutes or so north of Denison. And that's where we find Fox 4's Stephen Dial, who is reporting live for us with the latest on the ground in Oklahoma. Hey, Stephen, what are you seeing there?
Casey, we just got here on the ground to Durant, Oklahoma, and behind me is just one police unit. We don't know how many units actually are down this road. The home that is tied to this investigation is further down that road, but we came here from Fairview, which is outside of McKinney, and at that location we saw someone who was believed to be family members arrive at the home and then go in. Now we know, and we've shown from Sky 4 for some time, that the FBI is on the ground there in Fairview, and here in Durant we have not seen many law enforcement officials yet, but that does not mean they could be down the road. We've only been here for about 20 minutes, and so we know that this home is tied to the gunman, but we don't know in what way. We don't know where the gunman came from before that deadly shooting that happened in Dallas earlier this morning, and so we don't know if this is just a part of the investigation as far as them searching known addresses, or if the shooter indeed possibly drove from Oklahoma. That has yet to be determined, and so right now we are waiting to see if more law enforcement will arrive here. You saw 2 officers get out of that vehicle right there. That is a county sheriff's vehicle. That's not a federal official. And so we're waiting to see if federal officials come. When we were actually in Fairview, Casey and Heather, when we were there were no law enforcement officials there. And then when we left, the FBI arrived. And I was able to capture some images of those family members walking into that Fairview home. They were kind of frantic. And we spoke to a neighbor off camera who said that family had multiple young adult sons, which adds up to the age of this gunman here in the incident that happened earlier this morning. And he also knew the family's last name, which matches up to the last name of the gunman. So we are waiting here in Durant, Oklahoma, to try to see what or how important this location is behind us, as to if there is any evidence that can link to why this happened and how this happened, and if there were any planning ahead of time before this deadly shooting.
Well, Stephen, you talked about you talked to a neighbor there, and I know that's one of the things you do when you get to a scene is you talk to the neighbors. I guess a couple of questions. A, sort of describe this neighborhood. Looks like there's probably a lot of distance between the homes. And B, if you have had the opportunity to talk to any folks there, or if people are coming out of their houses to share information with you.
Right, so there's only about, from my view, about 3 homes along this road. It's off of a dirt road, off 75 the way we came. But the home is further back. If you were to look on Google Maps, it's a large property, and so we don't know what connection it is to the gunman, but we know this is one of those known addresses, but we don't know if he came from that address today or sometime in the planning stages of this shooting. So in this area, I mean, we're next to a person, but not much milling about. Now in that Fairview location, that was a more residential type area, a neighborhood, and so there were homes very close to the home that the FBI is at now. And one of the neighbors was coming out to just check his mail and bring bring in his trash cans, and he didn't even know what was happening. And of course, when we were there, no law enforcement was there, and so we were kind of telling him the story as it was happening. Here in Durant, Oklahoma, we haven't seen any neighbors or people who live by milling about. Again, this is off of a dirt road, and then we're at some distance from the actual location that a county sheriff's deputy is blocking off. So still a lot of unanswered questions, not a lot of information yet from the Oklahoma side of this investigation.
And just to give our viewers sort of some background and perspective here, we as a news organization, we have access to tools that allow us to run what we call, LexisNexis reports on people, information that is not available to the average public that we as a news organization have our hands on. And so immediately when we heard of this suspect's name, we were able to run that through our databases, and that is how you are in Durant, Oklahoma, and we sort of piece information together. Right? So we saw that there was a Durant location attached to this name, and then you did the legwork, Stephen. You got up there and you see law enforcement activity. So we sort of connect those dots, but we're waiting on official word from anyone where you are to confirm that this is in fact an address linked to our suspect.
Right, and a Dallas police source told me directly that they are looking at a location in Durant, Texas. And so, like you said, using those tools, Durant, Oklahoma. So using those tools, we were able to, all right, it would be smart to come up here. And so we still don't know all the details, or if this is just them checking boxes to make sure that they have checked every location. So we don't know how important this location may be to the investigation. And so we're waiting to see if more show up. Again, when we were in Fairview, no law enforcement was there, and now the FBI is there about an hour later after we left. And so we're going to stick around here to see if the same thing happens, if those resources just aren't here yet.
Well, yeah, and that's just part of the process. I mean, that's what law enforcement officials are doing too. Like you said, you don't know how important this location may or may not be, but you have to check the box. You have to listen to every possible tip or phone call or email or source, whatever. Check it out so that you can then put this Stephen larger puzzle together to figure out what happened and who this person may have been.
Definitely. And I'm going to step out of the shot one more time because I know two gentlemen got out of the vehicle. I don't know if they got back in while we were talking, but my photographer, Kevin Staples, is going to zoom down there. Again, like I looked at the area, this location before we arrived, and so I knew it was kind of down a long road. The property itself has a long road, but there is a home, and then there kind of is like a, I don't want to call it a barn, but like some type of large shed to the left of it. And so we don't even know how many law enforcement officials may be back there. To put it in perspective, when we were in Fairview, so outside of McKinney, the Fairview police arrived before we left, but it was no law enforcement presence at all. So that does not mean this house isn't important, but we don't know what level of importance it is to this investigation. Again, a Dallas police source telling me that they are looking at a home in Durant, Oklahoma. And so we are waiting to see how important Durant, Oklahoma is to this investigation.
Stephen, I'm just looking at Google Maps while you're talking here at the desk, just to kind of give our viewers some perspective, because you do talk about that location in Fairview, Texas. Stephen Dial, thank you for your reporting. We'll let you go continue to news gather, and we want to bring our viewers up to speed on this location in Fairview, Texas. You're looking at a live image right now of a home. Fairview, by the way, is in Collin County. It's just southeast of McKinney. It's northwest of Allen, right off of I-75, where the Sam Rayburn Tollway connects to 75, and we started to see some police activity in the early goings. Again, this is an address, Heather, that came up on our searching on our end.
And here's what I can tell you too, is whenever we have crews like Stephen and other folks who are at the scene where the shooting was, and here in Fairview, law enforcement has us take a step back. They are in the thick of this. They, of course, are thinking about their safety, the safety of people who might be in the home. They don't know what to expect when they're there. They don't just show up and open a door. They are very mindful of the connection, the suspect. They don't know what sort of situation they're entering, so they do keep us back as well. So this camera might be, you might be wondering why the shot is what it is. It's the best we can get right now.
Yeah, it's for safety as well, because let us not forget what has happened here. By all indications, the FBI has indicated that this was a targeted attack on members of federal law enforcement, of immigrations and customs enforcement. So if you're dealing with a suspect that was able to carry something like this out, you don't know what connections his family has, you don't know if they potentially are involved. It's all part of the unknown with these situations, and of course that factors into keeping people far back because this is a crime where it appears law enforcement was targeted earlier today in Dallas.
Well, and when they approach what might be a suspect's home, place of residence, there might be a trap there. You don't know. So they are just taking every precaution. And again, for their folks and then for reporters and people on the scene as well, keeping us a distance until they can safely share information with us.
So just to bring you back up to speed here, we've got 2 locations where we've seen law enforcement activity in the wake of this shooting this morning at an ICE detention facility, an ICE processing facility in Dallas. One is there on your screen, Fairview, Texas, up in Collin County, and then another location up in Durant, Oklahoma, 96 miles straight north from Dallas, right up 75, and we have law enforcement activity at 2 of those locations that are somehow, we believe, linked to the gunman here.
So that